would you like to count us down?
In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Let's go, Steven.
Oh, it just got real quiet for a second. I was like, was I supposed to hit a note? That's a strong note to hit.
All right, here's your turn. Go. Your turn.
I literally can't do that or it'll hurt. And the TikTok ruined that song for me because it sounds like the guy from Glee.
It's alright. You'll do the Sardaukar chant later. Make up for missing out on
The who?
the Sardaukar. that chant where it's like no do 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 do.
I didn't even know that was a chant. I thought the guy was just making a noise.
It's a chant slash song, whatever it is. I looked it up and said it's the Sardaukar chant, but anyway, welcome to episode 58, I believe. Santa Mira After Dark. Should I say
Something like that.
Rackus After Dark?
Mm.
Jeremy.
And I'm Steven.
And today we'll be discussing the 2021 film Dune, directed by the great Denis Villeneuve, which officially makes him a repeat offender on Santa Mira After Dark, joining the likes of James Wan and Richard Kelly, and there's probably a couple other ones we did multiple times.
And some.
Yeah, so the movie's kind of interesting to discuss because it's one of the few movies that I have read the book for prior to have seeing the movie, and you, on the other hand, went in like totally blind to anything that Dune is.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess it's kind of two different perspectives, but I have seen the 1984 version of Dune, which I thought was terrible, and I'm glad that David Lynch pretty much disowned that movie because I don't know. I guess there was like studio interference or whatever, and he pretty much jammed the whole book into 2 hours and 10 minutes, and it just didn't flow well together. But this movie, on the other hand, is half the book and more time than that. So,
And flew well.
yeah, it's interesting because like they come out and say right away that it's Dune Part 1, which was not in any of the marketing.
Mm-mm.
And I remember this entire time, Denis Villeneuve pretty much told people like this movie has to do well for the sequel to be greenlit, and it's I guess it was
It sure did.
it was pretty risky to go out and just Part 1 in your title without like being confirmed that there was a sequel.
Yeah.
I guess they are doing a TV series. I have heard that they're doing like a spin-off TV series eventually that Denis Villeneuve is going to be a part of. The sequel did get greenlit, and is coming.
They just
next.
need to do a video game.
Yeah, that would be cool too. I think Part 2 is coming out next year. I think eventually he wants to do Dune Messiah, which is the second book. But he actually did an interview last week where he said like he's just taking it one step at a time because It's a tall task to try to adapt this book that many people have said was unadaptable for the longest time. What were you gonna say?
Did you read the second book at all?
Oh, I actually ordered it on Amazon last night, so I'm going to. I need to brush up on what happened at the end of the first book because it's been a few years since I've read it. But yeah, I plan on like I'll probably like read some summary of what happens in the last half of the first book and then jump into the second book.
Mm.
But I go through these phases where we do a movie on the podcast and then I just like become obsessed with it and it's like I um, have to like involve myself in everything that
Everything
this
related to it.
yeah pretty much. When we did Doctor Sleep, I read The Shining like immediately after we recorded our Doctor Sleep episode. When we did Southland Tales, I read the comic books for that. So um, I don't know how far I'm going to go into book series because I mean it is a lot to take in, and the book treats you like fully aware of what all these different terms are, and no, we'll see.
I need like Dune the dictionary.
Yeah. Um, so what do we think of the 2021 version of Dune?
I enjoyed.
Um,
It's
it's probably
my
probably
top 10 of 2021.
it's probably in my top three, I think. Um, it's just like I don't know. I feel like you have to be in the mood to watch Dune because it's just so heavy on exposition, and
Yeah.
it's it's similar to the books in the way where it doesn't treat you like you're dumb, but it it also teaches you in like a smart way without like kind of dumbing it down because Paul Atreides, who is our main character, he's learning all of these Dune terms like the sandwalk and what a shy halud is, and as he's learning this, like we're learning it as well. So I did like that element where it's we're kind
It's
of learning about this.
educational for all involved.
Yeah, it's probably. I mean, I have to be in the mood for it, but like I feel like I can watch this probably for the rest of my
Every,
life because
every
it
day.
was not every day, but especially like because I remember when we watched this in theaters, I looked over to you like an hour in, and I was like thinking like, oh, this movie is not for him. It's just
I think
I
I
don't
dozed.
say.
I think I dozed for a second
Oh Lord, yeah,
in
I
the movie theater.
didn't doze off, but I remember like it's slow at times, and then it gets like it picks up speed, and then like I mean I guess like the only complaint I would have is that it suffers from not really having a climax at the end of the movie
Mm-hmm.
because they have that like uh that fight on Arrakis with the Fremen and Paul, but it's like just a simple fight. It's not like there's not even like a loud score with it. It's just like quiet.
Yeah.
The climax is probably like when the Harkonnen attack the Atreides on Arrakis, and like if you look at the clock, there's still like 45 minutes left in the movie. So like the climax almost takes place like not even in the third act, and I think that might be where it suffers and it might have lost people. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, I loved it. So it's also cool to see the like some of the stuff that Denis Villeneuve has taken from his past movies, like especially Arrival and Blade Runner, like you could tell those were kind of like tryouts to make this make Dune because this was very much a passion project for him because he said that him and his friend made storyboards for certain scenes of Dune when he was 14.
Oh, she's like a lifelong fan.
Yeah. I remember hearing like interviews from him and he's pretty much said that like he feels like this was what he was like put on earth to do is to make this. And I'm glad that despite being in a pandemic and everything that this movie like was financially successful and a lot of people seem to enjoy it and I'm hoping that it kind of becomes like this generation's Harry Potter or like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or something like that.
Yeah, we need a new franchise.
Yeah, because we're really running dry with those superhero films, so we need something to kind of
Mm.
something new, I think. So I'm
They can handle
hoping.
some superhero.
I mean, Batman's a different example, but
Yeah,
because that's kind of a new thing. But like the Marvel thing's been going on for 15 years now, and it's like refreshing to see a different franchise come in and be successful from the get go and have a bright future.
yeah, because they still rely on the oh, this is coming up next.
Hmm. That was one of the things I didn't understand with people saying they didn't really like this because I guess one of the complaints was that this movie's slow because Zendaya's not in it very much, even though she was promoted heavily. And it's like if you just be patient, she's in the next movie. So
Yeah,
like her character uh, is very prominent in the second half of the book. She's going to be in the next movie a lot. And
she
like
was
that,
there. She was there to smile into the
pretty
camera.
much. But like that was a complaint that like they promoted Zendaya to put her in the movie to just kind of promote the next movie. But like if you watch those Marvel movies, like all they do is promote like the next six movies.
Yeah,
So it's like if it's acceptable for them to kind of save stuff for future movies, like I think I think Dune is very much in the right to kind of take its time and just build up the story.
yeah,
Because
I agree.
like I think that there's I guess it depends which version of the book you buy. But I think the version I have is like 700 pages,
Mm.
and it's there's just so much information thrown in there, and it's like you you can't make this like a 2.5 hour like you can't make that a 2.5 hour movie and expect it to flow smoothly because you'll be flying through things that needed to take its time.
Yeah.
They actually did make a mini series of Dune in 2000 on Sci-Fi that I have heard mixed things about. I'm interested in checking it out. It's only 3 episodes. I mean, I guess it's similar to like the It miniseries, except it's like an hour and a half longer than that. But I mean, I am interested in checking that out. But yeah, there was no way this was going to work out in such a short. I'm sorry. There's no way the story would have been able to translate into such a short movie.
Yeah.
But, but yeah, we can go through the plot and we'll give our thoughts as we go along. So bear with us as we try to translate terms and everything because we got one person who's very new to the universe of Dune and another person who's just stupid. So so yeah, bear with us as we
Which one am I?
the one who's new. um yeah, so I mean, it opens with this message that says dreams are messages from the deep. and that's for the Warner Brothers logo. Okay.
I didn't even know if that meant anything.
Yeah, it does have something to do with the movie, but it's just weird that they put that line there and then it cuts to like the modern Warner Brothers logo. Like
Yeah,
they should have made a special one for Dune. Like,
a
you know,
sandy one.
this is a big this is a big IP, and you're just gonna have that message and then just cut to like the Warner Brothers logo in like a lot of Hollywood.
Yeah, they should have made a sandy one or something.
Yeah. So, the movie, like it starts out with her name's Chani, who is Zendaya's character, and she's kind of giving us this exposition about the planet of Arrakis. And she says that Arrakis is beautiful during the day, but at night, the Harkonnens have waged war on them for years because they're there to harvest this spice, which is used. I mean, I guess it's used as a drug for the Fremen who are like locals on Arrakis,
Mm-hmm.
and at yeah, at night the Harkonnen harvest this, and they've also waged war and they kill many of the Fremen, because I guess they want to like keep Arrakis to themselves or something. I'm not sure if that's the idea.
That's what I got out of it.
Yeah, but they so the Harkonnens are just a bunch of petty
Evil
jerks.
people.
I do like what's his name? Shoot. Uh I can't remember his name. Let me look him up real quick. It
Batista.
is no, not Batista. Uh Gurney Halleck, who's played by Josh Brolin. Um he has that line where he's talking to Paul later on, and he says that the Harkonnen are brutal, and just the way he says that is like I don't know, just the way he delivers that line, it just like gives me like bad vibes. Like, oh, maybe they are brutal. Did you catch that? It's the scene where he's training Paul.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So one day and I guess the Fremen have want. I don't know if the Fremen want to leave Arrakis or if they want the Harkonnen to leave.
I think they wanted the Harkonnen to leave.
But one day the Harkonnen do leave, and they're like kicked off of the planet
They
by
got the big boot.
yeah, by the Emperor, who eventually has gifted the planet to the Atreides, who are protagonists of this story. And
So that's
yeah,
good.
yeah, so we'll cut back to Arrakis later on, but and then this is where the movie opens up with Dune Part One, which we already said. I'm glad that they had the balls to put Part One in there, knowing that not knowing if they were gonna ever get a sequel, because it would have been embarrassing to
Just a little.
that's like how like it chapter one ends, like when it opens it's just called it, but then at the end it's called chapter one.
Yeah. I think he already knew that was greenlit.
I mean, that movie would have been like that was on the verge of being successful anyway, because
Yeah.
you know, like that was a remake that people were kind of wishing for years. So we open up on the year 10,191.
So very, very far off into the future.
Yeah, we are 8,000 years from now. And if you were wondering why there are no computers or anything, and everything's kind of like Egyptian times where people lived in like stone houses and everything, it is because, according to the book, years ago, humans have fought with androids, and they kind of like wiped out computers, and that is why we're kind of like, I guess, living off the land again.
Back to the old days.
Yeah, and it's like they are like, they kind of keep humans that are like similar to computers. Like there's that one guy who rolls his eyes in the back of his head, and he's almost like
Hmm.
a calculator. So they do have people like that, but that's like the closest that you'll get to finding like any type of computer in this movie, aside from like the ships and whatnot. So,
Which is cool.
yeah, we're on Caladan, which is home of House Atreides. We meet our protagonist, Paul, who's played by Timothy Chalamet, who I found out prior to this recording is 26 years old, and
Hmm.
Paul Atreides in the book is supposed to be 15. So I don't know if he's playing young or if they just bumped Paul's age up a little bit.
I feel like they bumped his age up to like almost an adult, like maybe 17, 18.
Yeah, I was thinking like around there, like in between 17 and 20. 'Cause
Yeah,
I think Timothy Chalamet plays young, but I don't think he plays that young.
yeah,
He
yeah.
also
I
he
thought
also oh
he
go
was like
ahead.
a young adult.
He also probably was only 23 or 24 when they filmed this. So I don't know, I'm interested to see what they do with like the aging process because I'm not sure. And I guess he is an adult, so he's probably not going to look that much older. It's not like the kids of It who aged over the course of 2 years.
And they had to use CGI on a couple of them.
Yeah, but yeah, so I'm curious how that's going to work. But because I mean, we might have a case of the Amazing Spider-Man where Andrew Garfield has just turned 30 and is playing 17, 18 years old. But so we
Yeah, they
meet
love doing that.
yeah, so we meet Lady Jessica, who is Paul Atreides' mother, played by Rebecca Ferguson, who's having a great career. I think she was in Doctor Sleep. Um, among she played girl with the hat. I can't remember her name.
The hat.
Yeah, I think I actually her name has hat in it. I know that. But anyway,
Rose the hat.
yes, that's it. But Lady Jessica is trying to get
She
Paul
was
to
in,
learn.
she was in The Greatest Showman too.
Yeah, she was.
Mm.
Yeah, she's having a very good career.
And the
But
snowman. She's doing it all.
mhm. The snowman is probably a miss, but um,
Big
so
miss.
so, Lady Jessica belongs to the Bene Gesserit, which are pretty much the group of powerful women who, I mean, I guess you could say they're witches, even
For
though
lack of a better term.
they're witches, but they're not like I guess they're not evil witches.
They're magical women. Well, the superior seemed pretty evil.
Some of them have their like ulterior motives,
And it
but
sure was an ulterior one too.
yeah. So yeah, she's a Bene Gesserit, and she's trying to
That
get
sounds so
Paul
offensive.
a Bene Gesserit.
Like, shut up, you Benny Gesserit.
It's actually, I guess, it's all. I can't talk. It's actually a compliment, I think, because it's like, oh, you're a powerful woman.
Even in the movie, like later on, when his dad was arguing with her, he was like, "I'm not asking you as, or I'm asking the Benny Gesserit. I'm
Mhm.
not asking his mom." And I was like, "Oh, it's offensive."
I like that line he has later on where Paul is like, "You Benny Gesserit made me a freak."
Yeah.
But
See, it's very offensive.
I'm gonna start bringing um, Dune terms into my real life vocabulary, and just start offending people. Like, "Yo, mama's so fat. she looks like the Baron Harkonnen. Just see, just see like who catches on to my references.
That's great.
Yeah. Or like if someone's walking funny, you'll be like, what are you trying not to attract a shy halud? Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know who would even catch on to those references, but I'm gonna start bringing it into my regular vocabulary. But
I like it.
but anyway, um, yeah. So she's trying to teach him like the Bene Gesserit ways. We find out later on. I mean, I guess we can kind of jump ahead a little bit, but we find
She had the
out.
nerve to do it right during breakfast time.
Yeah, because he has this line where he's like, "I just woke up, and you want me to to
You
talk
want
to
me
you
to,
through mind control."
yeah,
I mean,
you want to do all this
I
in the
guess it's
morning.
not. Yeah, I guess it's not mind control, but it's like just
Use
voice.
the voice.
Yeah, it's a voice that you can use telepathically.
It's kind of like mind control because you have somebody do something for you.
Hmm. So we learned that later on that he has Bene Gesserit powers, which is like I guess men aren't supposed to have these powers. And what happened was the Bene Gesserit did like these experiments, and it was supposed to produce this like very powerful woman, but Lady Jessica ended up having a boy, and
How dare she?
it's like this odd situation where it's like the leader of House Atreides also has Bene Gesserit powers, so it's like I mean I guess he like they mentioned the I'm gonna try it, the Kizach Haderach, which
Ooh, that's a tough one.
which I think is I guess no, they don't mention it. It's in the second part. It's going to be in the second part. It's called the Muad'Dib, which is
I was gonna say
Paul's.
I didn't learn this.
eh, They do mention the Kizach Haderach in the first part, but the Muad'Dib is what Paul eventually becomes, because it's like when you take a life, you also like lose yourself. So it's like he gets this title as Muad'Dib, which is like the most. I guess it's kind of like the most powerful.
The most iconic
Yeah,
person in the land.
yeah. Um.
I forgot where we
So
were first. We're at Arrakis. Well, no, not yet.
so um. I've looked up the meaning of Muad'Dib, and it says if you've ever wondered about the appropriateness of Dune hero Paul Muad'Dib's chosen name, Muad'Dib means kangaroo mouse in the Fremen tongue.
See, that sounds offensive too.
It does. Yeah. But, I mean, we're jumping ahead to a movie that's not even filming yet, so. um. So anyway, he has these powers where he can like telepathically talk to, um, he can telepathically talk to people, and Lady Jessica kind of like brushes off this. She like pretends that she's not impressed by what he's done because she said that it takes years to learn, but in reality, like he already has mastered these Bene Gesserit ways without even knowing it.
Yeah,
Um, and then we cut to Paul in his
but he's a critic.
yeah. So we cut to Paul in his bedroom, and he's learning about Arrakis. He's like studying with this like projector thing, and uh, we kind of learn about the Fremen who live on Arrakis. They have grown, pretty much grown immune to the heat, and they have blue eyes from all the spice, and they live amongst the Shia Halud, which are these big sandworms, and you have to walk without rhythm when you get into the worm territory because the worms are attracted to rhythm, and as we learn later, when they come up and try to kill or try to feed on whatever is walking, it doesn't end well because these things are massive.
Yes, they
And
are.
yeah, and yeah. Um, it's also interesting to learn the amount of like I guess where I'm looking for like what successful ideas is what I'm saying. The amount of successful ideas that were taken from Dune and put into other properties. Like there's a lot of Star Wars in here, which George Lucas should have been sued, but and that's neither here nor there. Tremors is one, the sandworms. Beetlejuice has sandworms, so it's interesting to see um, like all the things that were taken from Dune and put into
The
other things.
inspiration.
Because before we did the recording, I saw like it's like a 2.5 minute video of a bunch of Dune references in pop culture, and
This
like
was before the movie even came out,
yeah,
clearly, but
I
since
mean
it just came out.
I think we missed the Dune hype because we were born in 1994,
Hmm.
and I feel like a lot of people born between like probably the 60s and the 90s, like I think Dune was made for them because they had the book series coming out, and then in 1984 they had the movie come out. So I feel like we missed the Dune hype because Frank Herbert died, and his son ended up taking over for novels, but they haven't been as successful. But yeah. So speaking of, we're going to be doing a podcast on every Dune novel. It was Stephen's
What
idea.
was it a real
um,
idea?
one novel a week. So you better get to reading, Stephen. So
Um,
maybe we're not doing that idea, but so spice is also used for space travel, which is why it makes it so valuable and why the Harkonnen and like the Sardaukar and the Atreides are very fond of this spice. It's also used as a drug to get you high. So and many uses for this spice.
you could do anything with it.
Yeah. So we meet Paul's father, played by Oscar Isaac, the Duke Leto Atreides, and he's
My
gifted.
lord,
Yes, he is gifted Arrakis by the Emperor.
imagine
And
if you just gifted a whole planet.
yeah, here's a whole planet. There's like sandworms there. There's also a colony of people there that are angry because they're getting wiped out by this other planet.
Like, have fun. They're probably not gonna like you either because they don't know.
I do like the idea of uh, Duke Leto trying to make friends with the Fremen and make up for what the Harkonnen have done to them. I thought that was a cool twist.
Yeah,
But I mean, rightfully so. The Fremen are suspicious of this whole operation. Um,
shouting. Well, that's later on in the movie, but they're shouting upon arrival. Uncomfortable stuff. I don't know exactly what they said, but
yeah, I forget the slang, but I think it's on IMDb. I'll look it up in a minute. But
it wasn't pretty.
is that what they're chanting at Paul?
Yeah.
They're like they're kind of saying that he's the chosen one because they're aware of this like ultra being that Paul is, but
Uh-huh.
and I guess they have like the awakening from the spice to know that he has Bene Gesserit powers, and he's also like can see past and future and present. But so anyway, Paul is standing with Gurney Halleck and this guy. I'm gonna try it. Thufir Hawat, who who rolls his eyes in the back of his head to calculate. It's really strange because he's like how much did this trip cost, and he rolls his eyes back and is able to give a number. So he's like a human calculator.
That's what I need.
So the
See.
emperor, the emperor asks the Duke Leto if they accept Arrakis, and they go through this uh, big chant among the Atreides land where um, they just chant Atreides real loud, and then yeah. So we meet Duncan Idaho, who is played by Jason Momoa. I,
Is he ever?
what's that?
Is he ever?
I like the relationship that him and Paul have. Kind of
It's
like
very nice and very sincere. I couldn't think of the right word.
I feel like they're supposed to have they're supposed to have a very formal relationship, but they actually have like a big brother little brother relationship.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. Um, so Duncan Idaho is going to Arrakis tomorrow to live amongst the Fremen and make friends with them. Um, and
Scared.
Paul is like, don't want you to go because I had a dream about you, and like I see you with the Fremen, and you end up dead. And um, he or no, I'm sorry. Uh, Paul is like, I need to come with you. He's not trying to convince him not to go. He's like, I have to come with you.
Yeah.
And he's like, I feel like you would have lived if I was there. And Duncan Idaho has this line that is not in the book, but he says, "Dreams make good stories, but everything important happens while we're awake." And
Oh,
that's why that line at the beginning of the movie uh, definitely ties into actual movie, and it's not just something random like that. Dreams or messages from the deep or whatever.
yeah.
Like it does tie into this movie because
The
Paul is getting.
disrespect that I showed it.
I know. So so he pretty much says, "No, you can't come with me. I'm going." And then he goes. Um, the Duke Leto is at like a graveyard, looking at like the fallen Atreides, I guess. And Paul is like, I need you to, or Paul is like, I need to go to Arrakis to live amongst the Fremen because the Atreides are in danger.
Well, no, but
Would you say?
because Duncan's doing it too.
Pretty much.
That's
And
also because they're in danger.
yeah, Duke Leto says something like that he can't go because he needs Paul by his side because they're going to face political danger. Which I don't know which
Ooh,
one's worse. Like, if you think you could fix people from dying, or if you could fix political danger. I'm not sure which one's worse.
I'll just go live with the Freeman.
Yeah. And they do make a line that says that Duncan was sent to live amongst the Fremen to cultivate desert power. Which, I guess we learned later on that desert power is just people riding sandworms.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think very early on in the 1984 version of Dune, we see someone riding a sandworm. We don't see it until the end of this movie. That was kind of unique. But yeah. So we find out that Paul does not want to lead House Atreides, and because I guess the Duke Leto tells him like you're going to be the head of House Atreides, and he says he doesn't want to do it, and then
I don't blame him.
the Duke Leto says a great man doesn't seek to lead; he's called to it and answers. And he pretty much confirms to him that even if he doesn't um, even if he doesn't answer to it, he's still going to love him because he says you're everything I needed to be, which is my son. So a lot of heartfelt moments here early on in Dune.
That's what I like to see.
hmm So
Hmm.
Gurney Halleck goes to Paul's room to kind of train with him. He has this line where he says, "Never stand with your back toward the door," and they're going through sparring session. They have these like cool shield-ish things and like
Yeah,
training devices where like even if you I guess if you like hold a blade up to somebody, it'll tell you if the wound is going to be fatal.
yeah. I guess it only works so much though, because later on in the movie, we see people die while they're using them.
Oh, I don't know if it's a shield per se.
Shield-ish, I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm not sure because Duncan Idaho definitely turns it on later and then gets killed. So
Yeah. So did the Duke.
yeah, but yeah. So Gurney Halleck is sparring with him, and he like could land a fatal blow on Paul, and Paul is like, I guess I'm just not in the mood. This is where Gurney Halleck has that line where he's like, "You never met the Harkonnens; they're brutal." And it's like yeah, I get it.
I'm like, calm down.
And then I guess Paul kind of gets in the mood, and he ends up like that, but he ends up beating Gurney in a fight, and then
He
but we've
beats him, but he would have joined him in death.
yes, correct. Um, yeah. So we move on to the next scene. We are now on. Would you like to name this planet? Would you like to give it a try?
Um,
No.
what's it?
Okay.
Guidey Prime,
Yes, something like that. Like
the
Guidey
Harkonnens'
Prime.
home.
Yeah. We meet
Batista.
yeah,
I didn't even get his name.
we meet Batista. His name is Rabon, I think.
Mm.
I'm glad he had a much bigger role in this than he did in previous Denis Villeneuve film.
Yeah, even though he doesn't really show much of him in here either. Now, I have a slight issue with villains in some of movies like this
hmm
because it's like this, Star Wars, and Marvel, and even Justice League, where we just get scenes of the villains and they're talking to each other. I'm like, I don't really know what's going on here.
Yeah,
Like their motives are never really clear, and they're just kind of
I agree with you.
they're evil.
I agree with you because I was also confused because like they were gifted, or the Atreides were gifted Arrakis, and Tista's character is angry about the the Atreides getting the planet, but
Rightfully so, in a way, I guess.
the Baron Harkonnen acts like it's all part of the plan, and they're gonna die on Arrakis anyway.
Yeah.
We're gonna get it right back, and I think that was the plan. Now, what I think is that the Emperor knew that the Atreides had these powers, and like the Emperor purposely put the Atreides on Arrakis to die. And I think the Harkonnen were aware of that. I think that's
Mhm.
what's going on, but I'm not 100% sure. Forgive me if I'm wrong, and just correct me. I'll gladly admit to being wrong, but I think that's the idea.
Because it reminds me of like I don't even know his name, but the bald one in one of the Marvel movies,
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you.
where he's just like an angry villain, or he's like a not even angry, but like
What movie are you talking about?
I honestly I don't even know because Marvel movies all blend
Yeah,
together.
yeah, I couldn't even tell you. Um, but yeah, I agree with you
I
with
guess Steppenwolf in Joss Whedon's Justice League.
yeah. It's just like it
Like
it
they talk, but it's like I'm
It's
not
kind yeah,
too sure what they're saying.
it's kind of like here's your bad guys, here's them doing bad guy things,
Yeah,
and now back to the heroes because that's pretty much what we do. Because yeah, because Vladimir Harkonnen has this line where it's like kind of a hint that Emperor might not have given um, Arrakis to the Atreides as a gift because he says something like, "When is a gift not a gift?" So that's why I got the vibe that the Emperor knew that Paul was like this special being,
yeah.
and he sent them there to die. And yeah, pretty much. Um, yeah, so we cut to the next scene. Uh, it's Paul Atreides just in his bed sleeping, and Lady Jessica has the nerve to wake him up at like 3 in the morning to do this.
This
this
giant test.
yeah, it's like, hey, get dressed. The head of the Bene Gesserit is here, and it's like, why did she get here at 3 a.m.? Why couldn't she have waited till morning?
Do you want to
Um,
say what her name is?
um, I would have to find it because is it Reverend Mother Mohiam, something like that. Yeah, I actually did not write her name down. I didn't. I took notes. I didn't take her name down because I
I
just.
just call her Bene Gesserit Superior.
I actually think that's what I have eventually too. But yeah, so she apparently is aware of Paul's dreams, and
I don't know who told her. Well, she might have told herself because she's magical.
I think it's just because he's Lady Jessica's son, and
Yeah.
they planned for her to have a daughter who would have these dreams. I think that's what the idea is.
Oh yeah, she's very mad
Hmm.
later on in the movie.
Yeah, so this is where we're introduced to Dr. Wellington Yui, who
Hmm.
I mean, yeah,
That guy.
he's just the doctor of of the Atreides, I guess, and he checks Paul's vitals because he has to go through a vital test or whatever, and he speaks in a different language to Paul. He pretty much says that I forget his exact words, but he pretty much says that the Bene Gesserit have ulterior motives and they only think for themselves.
Yeah.
So it's like, they
Ironically, coming from him.
yeah yeah we learn later on that Bene Gesserit are not the only ones that think for themselves. So the Bene Gesserit superior forces Paul to kneel, and it's this like I guess it's like this ritual where he has to put his hand in this box that is just supposed to be like excruciating pain, and she holds a needle to his neck called
The
the
Gom
gum.
Jabbar.
Yes, the gum jabbar, and I guess if he pulls out, pause, he gets stabbed in the neck, and it's like instant death. I remember reading the book; they never really explained what a gum jabbar is. They just kept talking about it, and I'm like, can I just get like a brief description of what a gum jabbar is? Because it's like all you have to do is say that the gom jabbar is a needle of death. That's all it is. Because that's kind of what the Bene Gesserit superior does. She holds it up to his neck and is like, "This is the gom jabbar. It's instant death."
Yeah, that's all.
Um. So he somehow manages to withstand the pain that's in this box. Um. I do like how it's kind of left to our imagination as to what exactly the pain box is, because in the 1984 version, they show his hand burning,
Mm-hmm.
and then in this one we don't even see what's going on in there. It's just
It's almost like nothing really did happen in there. It's
mhm.
all like mind.
Yeah, because he pulls out his hand and it's fine, and it was just like pretty much like a mind trick where it's like, you get to experience this incredible pain by putting your hand in a box. It's real strange. So She wants to know about his dreams, and he tells her that he sees a girl on Arrakis, and it's like a pretty offensive scene because she's just like not impressed, and she leaves and then lectures Lady Jessica about
Having a
wasting
son.
wasting all these powers on a boy. And she says something like that he'll die out there or something, or he might die. And then she just leaves. And Paul ends up overhearing this. And, he's, I mean,
Offended.
rightfully so. He's like, what the heck was that? Like, why might I die?
Yeah.
And she explains that the Bene Gesserit have been going through a breeding process to try to create a woman who can see both past and future to create a better future. And since he's having dreams about seeing people on Arrakis, like obviously that the Bene Gesserit power that was supposed to be in a daughter is in him.
How dare he be a guy?
Yeah. So the Atreides are going to Arrakis. We get like a montage of them packing up. It's really strange how bullfighting found its way to Arrakis to Caladan because when the Duke Leto is packing up his things, he has like a giant bullhead,
Yeah.
and that bullhead makes an appearance over multiple times. So I don't know. It's just weird that bullfighting was able to to carry on for 8,000 years into the future.
Maybe he found it somewhere.
I don't know. So there's like a ceremony on Arrakis to welcome the Atreides here. I actually did write down in the notes what they are chanting. Would you like to say it, or do you want me to say it?
I didn't even write that part down and or what they were saying.
The Fremen are chanting Lisan al Gaib, which roughly translates to Messiah, and they pretty much know that Paul is a special being, pretty much. I also see the Thropters for the first time, which is pretty much like just like a dragonfly,
Yeah.
which I thought was cool. I did see people complaining about them, saying like no one would build this,
I
but
like that.
like yeah, I mean I thought they were pretty cool, and it's like
Who
they're
am I?
they're they're very mobile too. I mean I don't think we could make those now and have them be successful, but 8,000 years into the future, I feel like there might be a chance to have dragonfly copters. I feel like they'd create a lot of turbulence with all of the shaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't-
They might.
So uh, there's this really beautiful shot of of the city that they're staying at, and it reminded me of those shots in Blade Runner 2049 when they're kind of like when Ryan Gosling is like driving his car above the city and everything.
hmm
It reminded me a lot of that. Um, there's this. I mean, it pretty much goes to nowhere, but I took notes of it anyway. There's this shot of the Duke Leto talking to Gurney about the moon, because on this planet there are two moons, and I think there's like maybe there's buildings on the moon or something, but it looks like a hand, and they say that it's the hand of God, but it turns out it's actually messing with their comm system, so it like messes up like their compasses and stuff.
I like that look of two moons, though.
Mm-hmm. Star Wars also stole that, but
Mhm.
um, but I mean, they mentioned that it's messing with their comm system, but I took it as the Harkonnens were the ones who were messing with it, and the Atreides just are wrongly thinking that the moon is doing that.
Yeah.
So we cut to Lady Jessica, who is hiring a house lady to, I guess, keep up with maintenance around around the house. I guess. And she goes through like a line of people, and the scene's very very strange
Yeah,
because she dismisses all of these ladies and she keeps one, and she's like, I know you have a weapon. And she like, because she's a Fremen, and I guess none of the other ladies were Fremen, and I guess through Benny Gesserit ways, she's able to tell that she has a weapon, and this lady tells her the weapon isn't to be used against you. It's for like, uh, like
it's
it's
for
for
her.
it's a gift pretty much.
Yeah,
And turns out it's a dagger that is actually made from the tooth of a Shia Halud, and I'm not sure why, but she moans and it's very uncomfortable.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't understand the moaning. I guess that she knows that what is it? The Lisan El Gaib is here, maybe.
exciting times on Arrakis.
Yeah. So
Why not moan?
so she pretty much gets hired as housekeeper after all of this, and I would be like, well, if you're gonna moan like that,
Never mind.
yeah, I'm gonna clean up that mess by myself. Yeah, so there's the next scene is a shot of Paul walking outside, and we see some more Fremen yelling Lisan El Gaib at Paul through the fence. Um, this is where we're introduced to the sacred palm trees. Um, the gardener is just watering these palm trees, and he like rubs it in their face, or he kind of rubs it in Paul's face, and he's like, "These are the sacred palm trees. They they use enough water to give to 5 men or whatever. I mean, I got something like that. And
It takes a lot of water.
there's 5 trees, and Paul makes a good point, and it's just like, well, why don't we get rid of the trees and just give the water to the people? Like that makes sense. And he's just like, no, these are sacred trees. And yeah, just why?
They sure are.
So so we go to Paul's bedroom, and he has like these like beautiful portraits of Arrakis on his wall. Like the sandworm is on there, and
Hmm.
it's really neat. And
He's learning how to sandwalk.
yeah, and some of about some of the Arrakis creatures as well, like that little mouse that shows up later on.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then it's like this weird little like bug thing that goes into his room,
Oh
and
yeah. The hunter seeker.
yeah, and I mean, I'm not exactly sure how this thing would kill anybody. Maybe it's poisonous or something.
Yeah, I felt like it would just stab them or something, and they would be kind of like what happened to his dad, where he got paralyzed.
Yeah, like a dart.
Yeah, I figured it'd be something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, so it like slowly comes into Paul's room, and he notices that it's there. And um
Me when a spider comes in my room.
pretty much, yeah, it's like it's like an assassination attempt, I guess.
It's exactly what a spider attack feels like.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So he ends up just like grabbing the this hunter thing and ends up like crushing it.
Yeah, it almost killed the lady that came in his room.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so then it just cuts to like a big panic in the, I guess, the hallway or something, where the Duke Leto is like, someone tried to assassinate my son, and like, where's security? Like, no one did anything. Like, how could you let this happen? And yeah, so um, I mean that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
The human calculator guy ends up trying to resign, and the Duke Leto is like, "Why would you quit? I need like
That's so funny.
why would you quit now?" You know.
That was
So
he was like immediately tries to leave. Like,
yeah,
oh, I want out.
he's like, "You have my resignation."
I'm like, no.
So yeah, so we cut back to the land of the Harkonnen. I forget the name already, but it's like this odd scene of the
90 prime.
yeah. It's like the head of the Bene Gesserit is talking to Vladimir to the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen,
Did you see
and
that pet spider?
yeah, I actually saw a like a kind of a concept art of that spider,
Mm-hmm.
and it like has a human face. It's very bizarre. Like you can't
That's
tell. Huh?
that's how you know not to trust her.
Yeah, it's like yeah, like you can't really see it in the movie, but I guess it does have a human face. It's very weird.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so I guess the head of the Bene Gesserit pretty much makes the Harkonnens promise to not harm the Atreides or not harm Paul and Jessica, I guess.
Yeah.
And we find out that the Baron Harkonnen is like kind of manipulative because he says that he won't harm them, but then like later on we learn that it's almost like when Batman lets Ra's al Ghul die at the end of Batman Begins.
Mm-hmm.
I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you, and then just let him die. And it's like if you put the Atreides in the desert, like obviously they're gonna die. So technically, we didn't kill them; we just left them to die. So
Yeah, they're going to
back,
throw them out the airplane.
yeah. So back on Arrakis, Thurfer breaks the news that the Harkonnen have sabotaged a lot of the equipment on Arrakis. So they pretty much set them up to fail because, as we learned, they are very, very petty people. That's actually the guy's name, who's the human calculator. His name's Thurfer, I guess.
Mm.
So Duncan Idaho returns from living with the Fremen. He kind of uh, tells tells the Atreides that the Fremen live in these things called I think they're called sieches, which are kind of like just underground bunkers. And it's I mean I guess they only predicted there was like 10,000 Fremen on this planet, but like among these sieches there's like millions.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
They're cool.
obviously he did not die from living amongst the Fremen. But yeah, so we meet Stilgar, who he's definitely a Fremen. He comes in to kind of voice his displeasure with the Atreides for being on this planet because they think that it's going to be like the Harkonnen situation where they end up uh, trying to like wage war on the Fremen. Because I got the vibe that the Harkonnen kind of treated it as like hunting, where it's like they just had fun with killing and like
Yeah.
attacking Fremen at night.
Yeah, they
Yes.
just kill them for no reason or whatever.
So Stilgar shows up and he spits on the Duke's table, and Duncan Idaho he says something like, "Thank you for the body's moisture," and he spits on the table as well. It's like one of the very few signs of humor in this movie because it does play itself very seriously.
Yeah.
But um, like
Oh, Duncan.
Duncan, Idaho, and Gurney Halleck are like the two people who delivered like some small resemblances of comedy in this movie. So Stilgar pretty much wants to make a deal, and he's like, you guys can stay here, but we just want to be left alone. Don't want to be hunted again. And Duke Leto confirms that they won't be hunted. And I mean, I guess they kind of just reach a deal. But as Stilgar is going to leave, he tells Paul, "I recognize you." And I think Paul actually offers him a place to stay too, and he just says
Mm-hmm.
no, and he leaves and says, "I recognize you." Yeah. So now we
The
meet.
Messiah.
Mhm. So we meet. Her name is Liet Kynes,
Yeah,
and
yeah, Kynes or Keens or something.
yeah, um,
They were so brutal to her.
yeah, it's very weird because she's like their trainer on this planet, and they just treat her like garbage. um, yeah, because like all she does is give them their still suits, which is supposed to keep them alive because it recycles their water. So like any type of sweat or like pee or anything just gets recycled and you can drink it, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I think I'd rather die, but
It might not be as bad as it sounds. At
I don't know.
least in that suit.
I don't think it goes through a filter device because later on when Jessica and Paul are in the tent, she drinks something and then realizes that it doesn't taste good. And Paul is like, "Yeah, that's just recycled sweat, sweat and tears."
Mm.
But yeah. So she's pretty much getting them ready in their still suits, and as she approaches the Duke Leto, Gurney just immediately pulls a knife on her.
It's
And
ridiculous.
yeah, it's like all she's doing is getting you guys prepared. You're gonna pull a freaking knife on her. Um, yeah. So like we said, the idea behind the suit is to like recycle your water and like recycle your sweat and your pee. She notices that Paul um, did something with his still suit to where he put it on perfectly.
Yeah.
And I guess like one of the hints at this Lisan El Gaib is that he will he will know your ways as if he was born into it. And yeah, it's like he just put on his pants the proper way, and it's like, oh, he's the Messiah.
that,
Um,
that that's a way to find out.
yeah. So
Put your pants on the right way.
so they take a dragonfly out to the spice mining operation. Kynes is teaching them about worms, and I think Paul notices a worm in the distance,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, "Oh, you have a good eye for this." And I guess like that is a sign that he could be the Messiah too. And it's also like, no, he kind of just saw a
Looked
giant
over,
worm.
looked over and saw it.
Yeah, he just conveniently saw a giant worm. It's not like this is what the planet's known for. But yeah, so they have to save these people from this mining operation because the worm is approaching. And yeah, it's like I guess they have like they don't have enough room for people, and people are going to be left behind, so they have to kind of get rid of their luggage. It's actually very intense, I think.
Yeah.
Because like the worm is approaching, and everyone's
Quick.
like scrambling. The Duke Leto is like, just give up the spice. We got to save the people, which is like probably the opposite of what the Harkonnen would do.
Yeah.
Um, and Paul ends up jumping out and like trying to guide people toward the Thropters. And it's this cool scene because like as he's hit with the spice, he kind of like I guess he kind of gets a high from it and can like see the future.
Yeah.
And he sees like Zendaya's character, Um, is is this the part where he sees the war, or is that later on?
I think he saw himself get stabbed or something.
Okay. Yeah.
And
So
he saw like, that sword.
okay, yeah, yeah. He says he'll be gifted a blade, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gurney ends up grabbing him before he's able to be eaten by this giant worm, and yeah, it's this cool scene where they ended up getting into the thropter and taking off, but we see the worm mouth like open up, and then the spice mining operation gets swallowed by this giant worm. Um, Denis Villeneuve has said in the next movie there's a scene involving a giant worm that he can like picture in his head, and he said he feels like he was born to make that scene. So I'm interested to
He was born to do a lot of things.
I guess so. He's like I don't know. I guess he's real excited to do this one particular scene with this giant worm. So I don't know. We'll see. So Dr. Yui seems to think that Paul just had an allergic reaction to the spice, and he
But he didn't.
says, "Yeah." Paul is like, well, once Yui leaves, he tells Lady Jessica that it wasn't an allergic reaction, and he just knows that he saw the future, and he saw Zendaya, and he knows that he will be gifted a blade, and he also knows that his mother is pregnant, which is like, I guess it's even news to. Jessica says she's only known for like 3 weeks or something.
Yeah, or it's only been 3 weeks.
Yeah. Um. So this is where we get the scene where
Might as well try for a baby when you're moving to a whole different planet.
with giant worms sounds like a good idea to me.
Yeah.
Um. So we cut to another planet, which is the home of the Sardaukar. This is where we get that
So
Sardaukar.
Lusa Secundus.
Yeah. Would you like to do the Sardaukar chant for us?
I don't physically think I'm able to.
So that's the Sardaukar chant. Um, not sure what any of that means. And I mean,
I
I
thought it
guess
was
that
some type of alarm.
it's like a ritual because they're like putting things on the people's heads and everything. So it's like I don't know. I think it's some kind of ritual, but I mean, I guess this scene is pretty much the Harkonnen kind of teaming up with the Sardaukar to attack this city on Arrakis. I mean, I guess that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Just
because
more villain stuff.
yeah, because that night there's an attack on this city on Arrakis. It, it like it like shows the security getting killed first, and the Duke Leto like kind of gets bad vibes or something, so he like comes out of his room,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of search to see what's going on. He calls for security and he tries to like I guess put the I don't like put the alarm up or something, and nothing happens. So they like shot the security system. Um, yeah, so he finds the housekeeper was stabbed and killed, and then the Duke Leto gets shot with a dart that like paralyzes him, I guess.
Yeah.
And we find out that it is Huey who is the traitor, and
Disgusting.
assuming he was the one who tried to assassinate Paul earlier on.
He had the nerve to
I know. Yeah, so the Harkonnen and the Sardaukar attack. Um, uh, Gurney like tries to lead a defense, and it just doesn't work. Um, there's this it's this funny shot because the Atreides soldiers like line up to defend, and they all move like in sync with each other, and they just quickly get overrun by Harkonnen and the Sardaukar. And it's like you had this army that was synchronized and everything, and you just got quickly overwhelmed and killed by like without even putting up a fight.
There's no choreography on the battlefield.
Yeah. Um. There's a scene where Yui tells Duke Leto that Harkonnen have his wife, and he needs to kill Duke Leto for her freedom. But he's like, hey, there's a fake tooth. If you bite down on this, it will release poison in the air. Make sure you release it near the Baron Harkonnen. And it's like, like you're gonna die, but I'll help you out a little bit. You could bring the Baron with you.
Yeah, like thanks.
Yeah. So Duncan, Idaho is like running through the building and trying to find Jessica and Paul, and when he gets to their room, they're already gone.
They've been abducted.
Yeah. Isn't Batista the one who abducted them?
I don't think so. I don't know if he was there or not.
Okay. Well, regardless, they do get
They
abducted.
might have saved him for the second movie.
No. They. I think he was the one who took them, but he wasn't on the plane. I think that's what it is.
Okay.
Because he says something like "Let the worms get them," because the Baron promised the Bene Gesserit superior that they wouldn't kill, or that they wouldn't harm them, and it's like technically, if we just leave them out there and they die, we didn't do it. But,
That's great.
yeah. So
Great
so
thinking.
so Jessica ends up like they're tied up in the plane or in like this thropter, and Jessica signals to Paul that one of the guys is deaf and he won't be able to hear you if you do the voice. And it's funny because Paul tries to use the Bene Gesserit voice and he's like, "Move my mother's gag," and he just gets like punched. Because I mean, I guess it has to be in a certain tone, and I
Yeah.
guess since Paul's a boy, he doesn't have that Bene Gesserit tone.
No, not fully.
But yeah. So Jessica convinces the one of the three guys to kill the other guy, and then I think after that she ends up getting out, and then they end up killing the other two. That's how it goes.
Hmm.
And the dragonfly ends up crashing, and there's this cool shot where they run up uh, a sand dune, no pun intended, and they can see that the city of it's called Rakeen or Arakeen,
A, a Racken?
Rakin, whatever it is.
Something
The
like
this
that.
the city's pretty much on fire and it's been destroyed. And
The sacred palm trees are even on fire.
yeah, I did like that shot too.
What a waste.
I know. Yeah, so
After all
the
that water.
all that water went to waste. Not doing any good now.
Mm.
So yeah, we cut to like I guess it's like an office room or something because it has like this giant table, and the Duke Leto is just naked sitting on it.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. Just like stripped him.
Thought they did that to check him for weapons, but he was still paralyzed, so even if he had a weapon, he wouldn't be able to do anything.
Yeah.
And there's this weird shot where it shows Duke Leto looking up at the ceiling, and we could see the bullhead hanging from the wall again. And I'm just not sure of the significance behind the bullhead.
It must symbolize something, but I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So Yui is in the room with the Baron and all these people, and he asks for his wife back, and the Baron pretty much says, "Technically, I said you could join her. I didn't say I would free her." Then he ends up killing him. It's like,
Stupid.
Yui, why are you an idiot?
Look, that's what you get.
Like this whole thing happened because of him, and he didn't even get what he wanted because technically the Harkonnen lied to him.
Yeah. And his
So
wife was already dead.
yeah, um, yeah. So the Baron goes up to Duke Leto and like I forget exactly what he says, but it's kind of like just a taunt. And Duke says, "Here I am, here I remain," and then he ends up biting the tooth. And it's really bizarre because this like, explosion from this tooth just like wipes out the entire room.
Yeah, it's like this giant purple fog.
Yeah. What we do find out later on that it's killed everybody in the room except for the Baron, so he's still alive.
Maybe because he was bigger.
That's what I got out of it. That maybe it took more for him to die from it. But so we cut to Paul and Lady Jessica in the tent. I mean, I guess they're kind of like staying underground, this weird tent thing,
Yeah.
and I guess Paul has like this device that can kind of scan for spice, and he finds out that there's spice in the tent, and he sees Zendaya again, and it kind of looks like things are going well, but then he sees like he calls it a holy war, so it's like like this big battle, I guess, is what he sees.
Oh yeah, the one he was a part of.
Yeah, and he's like terrified of the future, which I can relate to, and he
Can't we all?
and he this is where he snaps on his mother and is like, Benny Gesserit made me a freak. It's just it's a pretty cool scene.
I like it.
Yeah, so he's like freaking out. They kind of go to bed, and it cuts to the next morning.
Oh yeah, they like telepathically know that his dad's dead now.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, they're able to tell that Duke Leto was killed, and I guess now that would mean that Paul is the head of House Atreides.
He got everything he didn't want.
Yeah, and this is where we get that scene where that we talked about earlier, where where Jessica wakes up in the morning and Paul is like, "You need to drink something," and she doesn't like the way it tastes, and he's like, "It's recycled sweat and tears from the tent."
Like, thanks a lot.
Yeah, so this is where we see like that desert mouse thing that
That's
we saw
adorable.
the projector earlier. It's like I do like how it shows that this mouse has adapted to like sweat from its ears and then drink it.
Yeah. I also thought the ears were kind of so good. Listen for sandworms or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I like the touch where it shows that like the animals that have adapted to the planet.
Yeah.
So Duncan ends up showing up in a dragonfly to rescue Paul and Jessica. I like the shot, or I like the part where he sees Paul and just immediately He bows to him and he's like, "My Lord Duke." It's like he treated him like a little brother. Now it's like he's the head of House Atreides. Um, so he says that Hines has set up a hideout with the Fremen, and yeah, she's able to help Duncan, Idaho, Jessica, and Paul. Um, so they fly there, and like you would think that it's like a safe place for now, but somehow the Sardaukars show up there too. I don't know how they knew this was a thing,
Like they tracked them somehow.
but yeah, it's also funny because the Sardaukars show up, and then like most of them are like immediately taken out by the Fremen, who have, I guess they've learned ways to hide,
Yeah.
and they just immediately kill like a bunch of them. But yeah, so so Duncan ends up hearing like commotion outside, and like I mean I guess he kind of knows what's going on, and he's like, gotta sacrifice myself, which I was upset because he was one of my favorite characters. I was hoping he would
Yeah.
be in these more, but I also knew how the book went, so I knew
I
his
felt
time.
like I felt like he didn't need to do that.
Well, I'm interested to see like where they go from here because they had like a bunch of every big name in Hollywood was in this movie, and
Yeah.
then they killed off like 75% of them. So it's like you got to go through another
Yeah.
wave of like A-list actors to go through to be in Dune Part 2, you know.
Yeah.
Um
Tom
yeah,
Holland.
I don't think he could do this. I think he should probably stick to those like bad movies that he's doing.
That's the first A-list person I thought of.
Leonardo DiCaprio would be good in here. Florence Pugh is supposed to be in Part 2.
Oh yeah,
She's
she'd be good.
I think she's playing the princess, I believe. At least she's been
As she
rumored to be
should.
in it. I don't think she was officially casted, but that's the rumor. Um, yeah. So Duncan kind of just sacrifices himself and is like he kind of like locks the door behind him so that Paul and Jessica can't get out, and he does that like salute thing where he holds the knife at his head, and he ends up just taking out a bunch of people, but he's eventually overrun and gets killed himself. So
Yeah, at least he got most of them.
it is a hero's exit, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Kynes, she gives the Thropter to Paul and Jessica. Yeah, she kind of just assumes that they could fly it.
I don't know why this particular one only seated two.
I don't know. It was
Because
kind of
they
like,
all look the same.
yeah, kind of just like a convenience thing where it's like we need to separate them.
Yeah.
um, 'Cause I think her idea was that she was going to ride a sandworm, and she was going to let them take the Thropter. I think that was the idea. She's like,
It was a good idea on paper.
she's like, she's like pounding on the ground and everything, and I think she puts a thumper, which is something that just keeps the same tempo.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, Craig just left. Keeps the
Darn
same
it.
tempo, and yeah. But as she's as she's about to summon a sandworm, she ends up getting stabbed in the back. I do like the touch where it shoots out like clear liquid, which is
Mm-hmm.
like it's not blood; it's just like the liquid from the suit.
I was very annoyed though
Because of
when
the
she.
because of the soundtrack.
Well,
Because that screaming song pops on as soon as she like almost dies.
yeah. I liked her though.
Yeah, I did too.
I think she could have been in the next one.
Hmm. Yeah, but she tells the Sardaukar that she only supports one master, which is the Shia Halud, and she pounds on the ground to attract the worm and
Good
you know,
stuff.
sacrifices herself and kills um, all these Fremen. Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Yeah, good for her.
Um, yeah, so Paul and Jessica they have to fly through a sandstorm. They're almost shot, and
The way his mom was acting
mhm.
when he was flying through the storm reminds me of how mom acted when I was first learning how to drive. When she's grabbing onto everything,
Yeah,
panicked.
I could. Well, I mean, it is like, why would you expect him to know how to fly through a sandstorm?
This is his first time flying it.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess it's either get shot by Harkonnen or just take your chances in the sandstorm. Um, so Batista ends up telling the Baron, who is the Baron is in this like goo bath back on the home planet.
Oh yeah, the disgusting
It's
bath.
like it's like a
And
special.
that bald lady with the black eyes.
Yeah, I guess the oil is supposed to have like healing powers to help him recover from being poisoned by that tooth or whatever.
See, scenes like this, it goes back to the villain thing, where they would only do that with a villain to show that they're weird too,
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. But I mean, I liked it, but I see what you're saying. But
or that they're different.
yeah. But yeah, he pretty much tells them like they wouldn't survive the storm, like they're definitely dead. And turns out that the dragonfly was damaged, but they somehow did make it out, and they just have to walk now. Um,
Ugh, I'm not
so
walking through the desert.
yeah, so they're I mean, we're skipping ahead a little bit, but they're about to enter sandworm territory. This is where the iconic sandwalk is introduced,
Hmm.
which Stephen will be posting a video on our Instagram to teach everybody how to properly do the sandwalk.
What?
It's this idea where you have to walk without rhythm, and it just
You're the
basically.
one that knows how to do it.
I mean, we could all learn. um, yeah. So it's pretty much this weird like dance like motion, just so you don't attract a sandworm. Um, they they end up walking on a like it's called like drum sand or something,
Yeah,
but I'm not exactly sure what that is. They don't really explain it.
I
If
thought
it
he walked on like a ship or something that was underground.
that's what it is. It could either be that or it could be like a trap.
Yeah,
If they explained it, I totally missed it. But I don't know. It's something that's loud and it definitely attracts sandworms. And they're being chased by a sandworm. Apparently, sandworms cannot. No, they just don't go near the rocks. So I guess if you're able to hide on the rocks, you're good.
I guess.
Yeah, it's I don't know. So there's this cool shot of the Shia Halud staring at Paul, and it's almost like the worm is like kind of saying like you're the one.
Yeah,
But I think they kind of like
I
you
like
know
that scene because that's like the first time we see like the full sandworm.
yeah. Um, I wasn't sure if sandworm stopped because it knew Paul was special or if it heard the thumper
It might have been the thumper. Or
because we learned that the Fremen have put up a thumper to attract the sandworm away from Paul and Jessica, and we're pretty much at the end of the movie. The climax already happened, which was that big invasion war scene.
Yeah.
But the Fremen capture them. Luckily, Stilgar from earlier recognizes them and stops the Fremen from killing them. Um, they do say that Jessica is too old to learn how to fight, so they have to leave her behind. It's like you're just gonna leave this
Rude.
boy's mom behind, even though she's pregnant, just because she's too old to learn how to fight. And it's funny because they go to grab her and she like immediately is able to disarm them and fight them off. So
So she
um,
already knows how to fight, so she doesn't need that.
yeah, because it's yeah. So it's like they realize like, oh, she could fight, and then they agree to take them back to the siege.
When she's cool, then we can keep her.
But there's this one guy named Jameis, which is a name that does not fit in with the rest of this cast. Um,
Yeah.
he he's like, I don't trust these people. They'll have to duel me to get in. And yeah, I mean, this is essentially the end of the movie. I guess Zendaya kind of tells all that um she wouldn't have no, I'm sorry. She gives him the blade, which is the blade from his dream. And she's like she says something like, if you're gonna die, I would rather you die in honor or something, and then
Hmm.
she gives him the blade from earlier.
Yeah. So she thinks he's not gonna survive the battle.
Yeah. Um Paul does have these visions of his death, and yeah, it's like, if you're gonna die, it'd be an honor for you to hold this special blade while you do it. Um yeah, so this fight scene is interesting because, like we said earlier, there's no like musical score behind it.
Yeah.
It's just like a bunch of just like punching and like the blades hitting. It's yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious as to why they did it like that, but
I
I
like
th-
it though.
um so we learned that obviously Paul can fight. So he holds the blade up to Jameis's neck and says, "Do you yield?" And we find out that he's not aware that this is a fight to the death, and that you have to kill the other person to win. And Jessica says like, "The son's never killed anybody before, much like the rest of us." And
Right.
um, he keeps trying to get him to yield, but he won't. And it's like this very anticlimactic like stab to the back that takes him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's very anticlimactic. He kills him, and the Fremen are like just quickly are quick to accept him, I should say.
Like it's
And
immediately.
yeah, it's weird how you just let someone kill a beloved member of your group and then just accept them.
Yeah.
But
But that's what they
yeah.
did.
So Jessica says that they don't need to be accepted. They need to get off world to go back to Caladan. And uh, Paul says that the Emperor put them here, and his father came here for the Fremen and the desert power, and they're not going to leave. Pretty much, they're not going to leave until they have conquered desert power.
Yeah.
And we see this shot as they're walking away of this guy just riding a sandworm, just casually, like it's a
Like it's
normal
something
event,
normal.
like it's a normal event on Arrakis. Um,
I'm gonna go ride a sandworm today.
and I think Zendaya tells him that that's desert power.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm assuming there's more to it than just riding a sandworm, but yeah, it's like that scene of SpongeBob when Sandy's riding the Alaskan bullworm. So the second episode in a row that ties back to an episode of SpongeBob.
Yeah.
And I love this line at the end where it's almost like an episode of a TV show. Zendaya looks at Paul and says, "This is only the beginning." And then we see Paul and Jessica like walking with the Fremen, and then the movie ends. It's
Zendaya giving us confirmation of a sequel.
yeah, it's great. Um, yeah, it would have been awkward if this would have never got part two. But
Yeah,
like, imagine saying this is only the beginning, and then
it's actually the end.
and then it bombs in the box office. That's like there's a tweet. I forget the company, but they did The Mummy a few years back with Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah,
They had this photo shoot, and it's like this "Welcome to the Dark Universe" or something like that, and it's like has like Tom Cruise, Johnny Depp, and whoever else was supposed to be in that universe, and and
it's a,
the Mummy bombed, and they they canceled the entire plans to make a franchise out of it.
the whole universe is just dead.
Yeah, yeah, I thought that was trying to find it right now. Uh, Witness the beginning of a dark universe, and it's like just five actors standing there, and obviously that never took off. So
Like nobody witnessed the beginning.
pretty much. But yeah, it was Dune. It's fantastic. One of my favorite movies of the year, of last year, I should say. Would you be surprised if this wins Best Picture at the Oscars? Since we are doing Oscar month, and that was
I think it has like a small chance.
we didn't say it at the beginning of the podcast, but the reason we're doing Dune is because it's nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah,
Um, I don't think it'll win Best Picture. Um, it's a franchise movie, and they don't really. I don't know. I just don't think it's. I don't think it has a chance. But
the tiniest bit of chance.
I mean, I loved it. I'd be fine if it won like pretty much all the awards it's nominated for. Don't know how this movie got nominated for 10 Oscars, but Denis Villeneuve was not nominated for Best Director.
Mm.
No idea. But
Oh yeah, are we predicting next week?
yeah, I don't know how many Oscar movies I'm gonna watch, but
Yeah,
could drop some predictions and give some thoughts. But yeah, that was Dune. It's great. Watch it. They just put it back on HBO Max. Uh, Deserves your money and your attention. It's it's refreshing to see like a director who's so passionate about a project instead of just
hmm
like people just walking on set of a Marvel movie and just doing the bare minimum.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
I mean
definitely agree.
I loved it. I mean the cast is perfect. Like
Second to none.
you could tell like everyone took their role seriously. Like I mean I feel like this is a perfect movie, and not even exaggerating when I say it. I think this is perfect. It was pretty much what I imagined when I was reading the book. Like
hmm
I don't think anybody could have done this better. I read the book and then I immediately watched David Lynch's Dune, and I was like, yeah, this is nothing like what I was expecting. Then you watch this and it's like yeah, that's
Mirror
Frank
image.
Herbert's Dune. Yeah. Do you have anything else on Dune?
No, just that everyone should watch it. It does have a long runtime, but it's okay.
Um, so here's a question I have
It's
for you.
not quite as hard to understand as you'd think,
No, because I thought we were gonna have a hard time talking about it.
especially when you watch it the second time around. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, this is my third time watching it. Plus, I've read the book, so like I, I mean, if we would have did an episode like after the first time I watched it, I would have no idea what I was talking about. But
Yeah, same.
yeah, it's it is one of those movies that you have to watch with both eyes, like like put your phone away and
Yeah.
but yeah. So I did have a question that I forgot to ask at the top of the podcast, but did you like which do you prefer, this or Blade Runner 2049? They're
Um,
both like massive sci-fi epics by Denis Villeneuve.
Probably this one.
Okay. I mean, if you would have asked me a week ago, I would have said Blade Runner. But if you
Hmm.
ask me now, I might say Dune. They're just like I don't know. They're like peak sci-fi, and
Yeah.
I think they're both perfect films. I don't know. It's hard for me to choose one over the other. Um, Today I might say Dune, but tomorrow I might say Blade Runner. I have no idea. I haven't seen Blade Runner since we did an episode on it, like 6 months ago or whatever.
Yeah.
I just saw
Same.
this a couple days ago, so this is fresher. So I think I'm gonna go with Dune, but like I said, I'm not even 100% sure with that answer.
Yeah, I would choose Dune.
All right, would you like to jump into our recommendations?
Yeah.
It's time to recommend some things. You and me were recommending.
All right, would you like to go first?
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna go like off topic completely because I haven't really watched anything new. But I saw Studio 666
Okay.
the other day. It is about the Foo Fighters recording their 10th studio album, and they get sent to this house that is haunted by demons.
Did you see that at Movies 8?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested in that. I know it's on like you can rent it for like $20, and I didn't want to pay $20 for it. So
No, it'll probably be on streaming soon. But yeah, it's nothing great, but it's like just like a fun horror movie to turn on
mhm.
or to watch.
Yeah,
It felt
I was
like it felt
good.
like American Horror Story.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
like you can't take it completely seriously.
I'm interested in it because I like the Foo Fighters and I like horror. So
Hmm. Might as well put them together.
yeah, I mean I'm interested. I'll probably check it out eventually.
Yeah, it was a
Uh,
fun movie. I feel like Meatball would like it.
Probably we should invite her on and do that maybe next month or something. Um,
Yeah.
Speaking of future episodes, I do have an idea for May. It does kind of tie into this because the Obi-Wan series comes out in May. So I wanted to do Star Wars Episode 1 in May, but we'll see. You can tell by your enthusiasm to talk about Star Wars.
Star Wars is difficult
Yeah,
for me.
we're
Is
not.
Jar Jar in it?
Yeah, that's the one he's in.
Okay, I'm sold.
Yeah, we are not big Star Wars fans, but I figure we would start at Episode 1 and go from there.
I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but I like characters like
Yeah, me too.
Darth Maul
Yeah,
and
that's the
Jar
movie.
Jar.
Episode 1 is the movie that he's in, Darth Maul.
Oh, okay. So my two favorites are in there. I like Darth Vader too, of course,
Like
and Yoda.
I like Kylo Ren, but I hate The Rise of Skywalker.
I like C-3PO.
Hmm.
And R2D2.
Okay, so I'm going to recommend. First of all, I recommend the book Dune, but that'd be too easy. It's a movie. It's on Tubi actually, so it's free. It's called 99 Homes, starring Andrew Garfield and Michael Shannon.
Mm.
Andrew Garfield's like a construction worker who is in some tough times. He gets evicted from his house, and he gets a job working for like the guy who runs the company that kicks him out. It's it's pretty cool because then he like takes over as the person who kicks people out of their houses, even though he was just kicked out.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I want to see that.
it's very intense. There's like the scene where he gets kicked out of his house is very like I guess intense and emotional. I guess would be the words for it.
Just recommend Andrew Garfield too.
Yeah, he's in a lot of good movies. All right, so we are at over 90% of our recording, so we're running out of time before we have to start a new recording session.
Oh yeah. So
So
next week we are doing Nightmare Alley.
Yes. It's our final episode of Oscar month, and then we'll.
It's like the most swept under the rug movie on the list, and I haven't even seen or heard of all of them. I mean, I've heard people talk about most of them that are nominated, but the only person that I've heard talk about Nightmare Alley was Lady Gaga.
Oh, because of her connection with Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're
She
doing that.
tweeted something about him doing a good job back in December, but nobody ever mentions that movie, so I figured we might as well talk about it.
Yeah, we saw it in theaters, so I'm interested in a revisit. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see.
We saw it in perfect weather too. Like the movie felt good for that time of year.
We saw it at the end of December, and it was cold. So, yeah. So we'll do Nightmare Alley next week. Another 2.5 hour adventure. So hopefully in April we do some short movies because that
Yeah,
would be.
I'm just going to do like 5 short films.
Give me like an 80-minute slasher film that we'll probably spend more time on than any other movie. That we'll probably talk about that more than we talk about Dune. But yeah. So follow us on Instagram at Santa Mira After Dark. Follow us on Twitter at Santa Mira AD Pod. Through there you can find our personal stuff, like our social medias. And I think that's all I got.
All that shiz.
Yeah.
We'll have the lady vocal us out. And curfew is now in session.
It that was so ironic. It's funny you say that because I have Dune playing upstairs because I always put on a movie so my dogs can be entertained.
I think I was hearing the music a couple times.
And as you said that, I heard that song upstairs. You hear it?
Yeah.
You know it was that loud, so hopefully that didn't really mess up people's
experience
with this episode.
I just heard the music a couple times.
There were a couple times where I was like, man, it's real loud up there.
It's all right.
Go ahead and say your line.
Curfew is now in session.